When did you truly think you were about to die? My friend Lydia begged me to go to her comedy show because her YouTube stalker had been sending increasingly unhinged messages, and she was scared to be out alone. This guy Brad was obsessed with her, commenting on every video about how they were meant to be together, and sending her pictures of dead pigeons that he said were his sacrifices for her. We had dinner before her show, and Lydia kept checking over her shoulder, showing me his latest messages about how beautiful she looked in yesterday's video, how he could hear her voice whispering to him when he touched himself. I told her I'd be with her the whole night, but she couldn't relax, barely touching her food. During the show, she killed it on stage, but I could see her scanning the audience between jokes, looking for him. Nothing happened though, and by the time we left the venue at 11, she was saying maybe she'd been paranoid for nothing. We had no idea what was in store for us. The parking garage was across the street, one of those concrete structures with flickering lights and no security after 10. We took the elevator to the 4th floor where we parked, the doors opening to a completely empty level, just rows of concrete pillars and shadows. Our footsteps echoed as we walked toward her car at the far end, and I made a joke about horror movies that made Lydia nervous laugh. We were halfway there when we heard whistling behind us, some slow melody that bounced off the walls, making it impossible to tell where it was coming from. Lydia grabbed my arm hard enough to hurt and walked faster, but the whistling got louder, closer, and then stopped completely, which was somehow worse. A man stepped out from behind a pillar 20 feet away, tall and skinny in a hoodie, holding his phone up, recording us. "Lydia," he called out, his voice cracking with excitement. "It's me, Brad, from your comments. I've been waiting for you." Lydia was trembling against me, and I stepped in front of her, telling him to back off, but he kept walking toward us with the phone raised. "You look even prettier in person," he said. "I knew you'd come here. You parked here in your video from 2 months ago. I've been waiting every night." My heart was pounding as we backed toward her car, but he followed, getting closer, saying how he'd watched every video hundreds of times, how he knew everything about her coffee order, her gym schedule, her sister's name. Lydia was crying and fumbling for her keys while I kept myself between them, but he was getting more agitated that she wouldn't talk to him. "I've supported you since the beginning," he screamed. 3 years! I deserve this. He lunged forward and I shoved him back hard, making him drop his phone, and it shattered on the concrete. His face went from desperate to furious, and he pulled something from his pocket that flashed silver in the dim light. "You're going to talk to me," he said, his voice different now, darker, controlled. We reached Lydia's car and she clicked the unlock button, but nothing happened. She tried again, pressing it frantically, but the lights didn't flash and the doors stayed locked. Brad was 10 feet away now, and I could see it was a knife in his hand, one of those hunting knives with a serrated edge. Lydia tried her physical key, but it wouldn't turn, like something was jammed in the lock. She was hyperventilating, pulling at the door handle desperately. Brad laughed and held up something in his other hand, a small device with a blinking red light saying signal jammer and super glue in the locks. "We're going to have that conversation now." He moved closer, and we backed against the car with nowhere to go. The garage was empty, no cameras, no help, just concrete and shadows, and this man who'd been studying Lydia's life for months. My mouth was completely dry, and I could feel sweat running down my back despite the cold garage air. He pressed the knife tip against the car window, dragging it along the glass with a horrible screech, saying, "I've been so patient, so understanding, but you never even acknowledged me. Not one reply in 3 years." Lydia was sobbing, and I tried to call 911 but had no signal, the jammer killing our phones completely. Brad smiled at this and said, "It's just us now, finally, the way it should be." I tried to think of something, anything, but my mind was blank with panic. He grabbed Lydia's wrist and yanked her toward him, and she screamed, the sound echoing through the empty garage, bouncing off concrete walls, but there was no one to hear. I grabbed his arm trying to pull his hand off, but he slashed at me with a knife, catching my palm, the blade going deep, blood immediately running down my arm and dripping onto the concrete. The pain was sharp and hot and made me dizzy. He had Lydia pressed against the car now, the knife at her throat, whispering how they were meant to be together, how he'd make her understand, how he'd prepared everything for this moment. She was trying to turn her head away, but he grabbed her chin, forcing her to look at him, and I could see a thin line of blood where the knife was pressing into her neck. I grabbed his wrist, holding the knife with my good hand, but he was stronger than he looked. Wiry muscles under the hoodie, and the blade was getting closer to her skin, already drawing more blood. My injured hand was useless, throbbing and slippery with blood, and I could feel myself getting weaker. We were trapped between him and the dead car. No phones, no help. Full story on the channel below.